Well, we can revise the depreciation based on like various factors. A lot of times, especially with double declining balance depreciation, turns out that after its useful life, the number doesn't get to the actual residual value, as in like there's a lot left over. And besides that, a lot of it has to do with like, for example, the year that it's been entered into service a lot of times isn't going to be like necessarily the first month of the year. You know, it might actually be in fact put into service like 6 months into the year, or like the second month of the year. You know, so like for example, let's talk about that real quick. Let's say there's like equipment, okay, that was put into service on February 14th. There'll be an exact number, the exact day of which it was put into effect. They already determined, well, the book value of this item is like, let's say it's 100,000. Okay? And the useful life is 10 years. So like, it's like kind of hard to like calculate this sometimes, because like there's like some months that have 28 days, some months have 30 days, some days have, some months have 31 days. So like, let's see, January, February 13th, February 14th, through what, February, how many days are there in February? There is 28 days on the standard. Okay. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Alright, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these 2 months, or like this month and a half, pretty much, there was no depreciation. Let's say like we'll use, let's just use straight line. And let's say that the residual value is going to be 10,000. Okay. And then there's, of course, this is year 1. Okay. And there's year 2. January, February. So like this here, if equipment is in service on February 14th, how much depreciation Well, there's MARCRS, which if you guys have like a little bit of experience, heard about tax, there's like a way to write it into your tax form, but that's related to tax filing. So like what we're gonna be doing is internal bookkeeping, right? Often uses modified half-month conventions, prorate based on the day. Since its 14th is before the middle of the month, you would typically claim a full month of depreciation. Um, Before the middle of the month. Since it's before the middle of the month, you would still, well, that's what it's saying, you would still claim a full month of depreciation, okay? That's good. So let's see. So that means that that means that for year one, 11 out of 12 of those months, you would put in calculations for depreciation, right? So first thing we should do is figure out straight line. So there's 10 years divided by 100. Pretty much that means is that the straight line depreciation rate is 10%. Okay. So for example, in year two, that's the full year. So for the full year, 10% times, well, residual value, which is, we would have to find the depreciable rate, the depreciable value, which is book value minus residual value. Okay? So the depreciable rate, depreciable value, excuse me, would be 100,000 minus 10,000, right? So depreciable rate would be 90,000. So we would take that depreciable rate, 90,000, times that by the straight line depreciation rate for each year. So like in year two, you would see 9,000 in total for that year. But if you break down 9,000 between every month, you would see that in fact each month $750 would be being depreciated. So that in year one, because only 11 of those months, right? So for that year, only 8,250 would be depreciated. You guys see? So like there is that, which is like an important thing. It's relevant to me to note, but what we're trying to do here is, revisions of depreciation, especially like when it comes to like double declining balance depreciation, when like you go through all of the years of depreciation and at the end of that, like it doesn't in fact match exactly what the residual value should be. Like in fact it's a lot more. Like the declining double declining rate doesn't remove all of the book value out of the asset, and in fact like the value that's remaining is a lot more than the residual value. So revisions would have to be made, pretty much. Let's start with figuring out equipment. The book value of this is 24,000. Right? And the estimated residual value, okay, 18,600, and the useful life, 12 years, and it would be depreciated with straight line. Method. So we can calculate what the depreciation, the straight line rate, depreciation rate would be. So, is that 8%? 8.333%. Okay. So each year, the asset would depreciate at the rate of 8.33%. So if we were going to, well, first off, let's get the depreciable cost. Remember, which is book value minus the estimated residual value. Right. So that would be depreciable cost equals 24,000 minus 18,600. So depreciable cost equals 24,000 minus 18,600. Depreciable cost is $21,400. So we have that depreciable cost. So let's find the amount of annual depreciation. Depreciable cost, annual depreciation, which equals depreciable cost times straight line depreciation rate. Okay. So as you can see, annual depreciation would be 221,000 times depreciable rate of 8.33, or in other words, the annual depreciation equals 18,442.62. So that's the first year, right? So the book value, well, the depreciation cost, excuse me, 1,000. That depreciation would be, well, let's put the depreciation rate first. Is that 8.33%? The depreciable cost, start of depreciable cost and depreciation. Well, we can use a little formula. Okay. Suppose that's accurate. This would be this minus this. So. So as you can see, at the end of year 10, the book value would be $101,207. The book value. But the estimated residual value is actually 18,600. Oh wait, Actually, is it this? Actually, it might not be this. Actually, so that might be wrong. What's this? Because it actually might be this across all years. Like this. It might be this. Actually. 1849. This. Might be that actually. Mostly new book value after. Oh, okay. So like in double declining, the new book value is multiplied by the rate. Every year, the new book value is different. So like that new book value is times by the rate, and that's the new amount that is going to be deducted. But for straight line, the amount remains constant. Okay. So like assuming the start of the 11th year, the remaining estimated life is 4 years. As you can see the book value, 55,319. Residual value, 4,800. And that's remaining estimated useful life, 4 years. So let's figure out what with the straight line method. See, 25%, 12, 13, 14, and well, the appreciable cost. This could be incorrect. 55,000 minus remaining value. Depreciable cost 5,515 times 0.5. So that would mean that 12,629 cents. So let's see, 50, 51 minus 12,693, 7,889 minus 12,693, 2,559 minus 12,680. 1260. So it determined depreciation. So by the 13th year, it's gonna reach pretty much the amount of depreciation. Okay. Well, by the next year, if it depreciates at the same rate, it'll be zero. But then, like, there's going to be residual value. So by the 14th year, in fact, it'll just have the residual value amount. So 12,630 minus 400. So by year 14, the actual depreciation was actually only 7,830 because that's the amount that can be depreciated from the residual value amount.